Welcome into today's episode of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. I'm Madelyn Burke alongside Matt Citak. The phone number here, 201-939-4513, or you can find us on social media using hashtag GiantsChat. We're coming at you live from the Giants podcast studio, presented by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. And just a reminder, an archive of this show and our entire podcast network is available on the Giants mobile app, podcast platforms everywhere, and at giants.com/podcasts. It's Thursday. We're doing a little musical chairs this week. Shout out to John Schmelk for swapping with me yesterday, stepping in with Sean, and Citak stepping in for Casillas today. You know, we're moving and shaking, but we are making contact. Citak, I think this is my first time doing Big Blue Kickoff Live with you.
I know. I just said that to Pearson right before we came on air. I don't think
so
the two of us have done the show together before.
No, we've done the Giants Hangout together many a time, but this is our first Big Blue Kickoff Live, so welcome along to the ride. Everyone out there listening, watching, all of that. It's raining out here today, which is disgusting. It's windy.
It's a gloomy day.
Yeah, my umbrella turned into a martini, and not in the good kind this morning. But you know what? We're powering through, and it's the day before Halloween. Spooky season upon us. So, Citak, I'm going to start with what scares you about this 49ers game?
What scares me about this matchup is Christian McCaffrey. And I would say that even if the Giants' run defense had been, performing at a high level this season, I would still give that as my answer. As we know, the Giants' defense has struggled this year, to say the least. The 5.7 yards per carry that they have allowed is the highest in the NFL. Now, Christian McCaffrey is having the most inefficient season of his NFL career.
Which is also saying, his NFL career, the bar is so high.
Yes,
that,
100%.
Grading on a curve, even low on that, is still high for a lot of other players.
Yes, no doubt about it. But he is averaging only 3.5 yards per carry, which is a career low for him. He only has 490 yards on the ground through 8 games. However, he has more than made up for it in the air, because he is one of the top pass catchers in the NFL this season. His 56 receptions rank second behind only Jamar Chase. His, how many receiving yards? 559 receiving yards. I believe that ranks 8th in the NFL. So he is one of the top, I guess you could call it, wide receivers in terms of his pass catching abilities this season. So it is more than made up for his inefficiency in the run game. He is second in the NFL in total yards from scrimmage behind only Jonathan Taylor, and he's about 7 yards behind him.
Yeah.
So even though he hasn't been getting it done on the ground, other than that one game 2 weeks ago against the Falcons, he's more than made up for it through the air.
But we know that he has the ability and the capacity to do so, right? And like you mentioned, he's getting the yardage from scrimmage, whether it's during the passing game, maybe not as efficiently in the run game. But we saw Saquon Barkley also similar numbers. He was averaging about 3.6, 3.8 yards per carry coming into last week's game, in which we saw him break open a couple big ones. And Shane Bowen earlier today spoke with the media. He did acknowledge that, the game in Philly was one of the Giants' defense's worst tackling games this season. Their gap integrity is something that they need to continue to focus on. I talked to Bobby Okereke about it last week, and he said, it's not just the front 7 that need to be focused on the gap integrity. It's something that takes all 11. And when you've got so many new faces on the Giants' defense, which was so banged up last week in Philly, not an excuse, but perhaps a consideration in evaluating something like that, they need to get on the same page, especially if they're going to be going into this home game against San Francisco shorthanded. Now, we do see a couple of these guys making their return to practice today, right?
Yes.
So
Javon Holland yesterday returned to practice, which was a welcoming sign.
Yeah.
On the flip side, Cordell Flott did not practice. He's
still in concussion protocol.
In the concussion protocol, as we know, it's not like a linear path to clear the protocol.
Nope. Maybe
he clears in time, maybe not. That we're probably not going to know for sure until tomorrow at the earliest, probably Saturday.
Yeah.
So maybe getting Holland back.
Paulson,
losing
Adebo.
Flott, Adebo still, coach said that yet before practice yesterday, the Adebo was going to try to go out there and do something. He ended up being listed as did not participate. So obviously he's got today and tomorrow as chances to get back on the practice field, take a step in the right direction. But at least as of right now, prior to practice on Thursday, I would have to think that Adebo is on the more pessimistic side for this weekend. if he can get out there and be a limited participant today or tomorrow, he's got a shot. But we got some injuries in the secondary. I mean, there are injuries on both sides of the ball.
Right.
And the only thing that I'm not going to say makes me feel a little bit better is just that the 49ers injury report is almost twice as long as ours.
Right. But they've also been able, they've got the depth, and they've been able to kind of solve for that in a little bit better ways than the Giants have in recent weeks.
Oh, for sure. And also, a lot of the guys that are listed on the injury report for San Francisco have been dealing with these injuries for weeks and have still gone out and played on Sunday. So,
right.
I mean, I'm sure some of these guys on the 49ers' very long list will be unable to go, but, you know, George Kittle will be out there. Christian McCaffrey will be out there.
Yeah.
Juwan
I mean, Kittle's
Jennings.
2 weeks removed from being on IR, and his first week back, he was more in the blocking game. The last week, we saw him putting up numbers.
Yeah, he was a full participant yesterday. He's fine. McCaffrey did not participate because of rest, so he's obviously fine. But, the quarterback situation for the 49ers is the one to really keep an eye on. Brock Purdy has been in and out of the lineup all season. He's missed the last couple of games now.
Yeah, he's missed the last 6. Mac Jones has started 6 games. Purdy played the first 2.
Well, he came back. Did he come back at one point? Like he missed a couple of games. He came back, was not good, and clearly was still injured and re-injured it, and has been out ever since. I don't know exactly how many games, but
I know that Mac Jones is 4-2 as a starting or as a quarterback in his games right there, and Purdy did return to practice last week, didn't play last week. There was a question around if he would play last week for the Niners against Houston. He didn't. Mac Jones got the start again. So now another question remains. The curious thing, though, with, oftentimes as a defense, when you're preparing for a quarterback or a backup quarterback and you're not sure which quarterback is going to play, you got to kind of dive into both films and say, okay, this guy's tendencies and this guy's tendencies. But suffice to say, Brock Purdy and Mac Jones are very similar. And especially in a Kyle Shanahan offense, when it's like, this is the position, this is the job, rather than here's the player, here's that skill set that you have to kind of prepare for. You're more preparing for the scheme than the tendencies of the individual. Am I right?
100%. I was talking about this with Lance on Tuesday's show that undoubtedly Brock Purdy is better than Mac Jones. There's a reason why one is the backup and one is making over $50 million a year. However, in terms, as you just mentioned, in terms of preparing for both of them, I don't think that their games are like so significantly different. Like maybe Purdy is a little bit more mobile than Mac Jones.
Sure.
But other than that, like you nailed it. You're preparing for Kyle Shanahan's offensive scheme, which is among the best in the NFL. I mean, we've seen Kyle Shanahan have success with starting quarterbacks, backup quarterbacks, third string quarterbacks. It doesn't matter who's under center. He's able to get the best out of them because they're just running his system. He's one of the best and top offensive minds in the league. So I don't think it matters too much whether it's Brock Purdy or Mac Jones out there, which Mac Jones also listed on the injury report. He practiced. He was a full participant, and I don't think I've ever seen this before. We got the 49ers injury report last night, and I was updating Giants.com with it, and it said knee, knee. And I'm like, that must be a mistake. It must be repetitive. Like they must put the same thing twice. No, he has injuries to both of his knees.
Right.
So you have to list both of them. I don't think I've ever seen that.
He's injured in his knee and also his knee.
Yes, I don't think I've ever seen that before. But he was a full participant. So if Brock Purdy is unable to go, it will definitely be Mac Jones. They're not going to have to go to, I think, Adrian Martinez is their third string quarterback. It's not going to get to that point, at least to start the game. If Brock Purdy's ruled out, then obviously you never know what happens during the game. But
and also injuries and depth is one thing when it's like, okay, the drop off is so huge. But I remember, I think it was the last time the Niners played at MetLife Stadium when they came in with Nick Mullins, the third string quarterback, and it was just the IR roster of the San Francisco 49ers. And they put it to the Giants and won that game. So it's not, you can't look at them and be like, oh, this is a backup player. These are still NFL players, whoever is starting at that position, and on both sides of the ball. So it has to be, the accountability and the expectation still has to be there for that performance. Talking about, though, injuries, offensive side of the ball, you mentioned that as well. Giants are struggling with quite a few. They've kind of made up for it by going a little bit heavy into like 12, 13 personnel, leaning on the tight end position. We know the tight end is a rookie quarterback's best friend, and it's been pivotal for Jackson Dart, which, congratulations, by the way, Jackson Dart named Rookie of the Month, Offensive Rookie of the Month. So little kudos there. But, getting things going with Theo Johnson, with Daniel Bellinger, who's dealing with that neck injury. You got Chris Manhertz, you got Thomas Fidone on the roster. But how much can you rely on the tight end position this week? Or are you expecting them to do so, especially considering, Belly might be a little banged up?
Yeah, so as we came on air, Coach did his flyby before practice.
The timing doesn't quite align right now because BBK is always right as Coach is talking.
Yep.
So,
but according to our very own Paulie Dots, he said, Dable said that there will be no changes to the injury report other than Jalen Hyatt returning. He missed yesterday's practice.
Teeth.
Wisdom tooth removed.
Well, just one?
Or teeth, I don't know.
Yeah.
On the injury report,
usually you get all four.
On the injury report, he was listed as just tooth.
Just one tooth?
But Coach did say he was getting his wisdom teeth
He didn't
out.
want the Teddy Bridgewater teeth. I don't know why that just made me laugh so much.
Me too. And Greg Van Roden, who just got a veteran rest day yesterday, they were both returning, but everyone else is the same, which that's not great news because that means Daniel Bellinger will once again not practice and Jermaine Illuminor will once again not practice. Those are the two big ones that we've got our eye on the offensive side of the ball, at least. If Bellinger's unable to go, I would think we'd obviously just see Chris Manhertz in an elevated role, maybe even a little Thomas Fidone mixed in.
I wouldn't be surprised because I think Fidone, at the beginning of the season, 7th round draft pick, kind of taking a flyer on this guy. He made some huge plays in the early part of training camp, but I think that the organization as a whole was really set on the 3 tight ends of Belly, Theo, and Manhertz. And I think that they kind of thought, okay, that's what we're going to carry. But Fidone played his way onto the roster and earned that 4th tight end spot. You don't often see teams taking 4 tight ends in that position. So I wouldn't be surprised if Bellinger can't go, if we do see Fidone not only getting an opportunity, but also making the most of it.
Yeah, so I don't think Fidone has had many or any snaps on offense.
No, a lot of special teams.
He's been only special teams. Chris Manhertz has been mixed in a little bit on offense, but also primarily special teams. I would think if Bellinger is ruled out tomorrow, I would think that Manhertz will get more of the snaps as the second tight end. I do think Fidone will get some opportunities because despite him being a rookie, he's probably a better pass catching threat than Chris Manhertz is at this point in his career. Chris Manhertz, phenomenal blocker, has never really been known too much for his hands.
Yeah,
for catching the ball.
And he can catch the ball, but I think that's you don't think of Manhertz, you don't put him in there to catch. You kind of put him in there if you're kind of trying to go jumbo or get a little bit extra protection.
Yeah, and he's probably the team's best blocking tight end. Yeah, I've said this since last year. He's a phenomenal blocker. But yeah, I do think
Fidone's got hands though. I remember I want to say it was the first practice, but it was definitely the first week of training camp. I put a video up on social because it was incredible. This man just one-handed little okay 13 he is able to come down with the ball. He's got hands, and I think because even at Penn State when he played with Tyler Warren was such a game wrecker in that way that that is the guy that you notice in the tight end position. But Fidone was somebody who can come up with the ball, he can catch it, and he can be a little shifty. He's long and more long, lean, agile rather than kind of Manhertz, who's built more like a truck.
Yeah, Manhertz is maybe the most put together guy on the entire team.
Manhertz is carved out of stone. And respect that, especially in the way of you need that in that protection. So
yeah, for sure. But Fidone, you're right. Fidone did during training camp throughout the summer. He made more than one of those impressive one-handed catches. That's what got everyone so excited over this summer.
And in the preseason games too. And there were moments during the preseason games where he might have made a rookie mistake, but then he recovered and made some big plays and was able to kind of help the team in those settings. So I think because he earned the trust of the coaching staff to get a roster spot, he's been making the most of his special teams play. I don't know. Someone to keep an eye on this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm sure you remember when he got the ball in his hands over the summer and he started running up the field, he looked like a gazelle running up the field.
I know, seriously.
He was a lot quicker and more athletic than I think any of us were expecting coming in, because he's had, obviously had injury issues during his time in college. So, yeah, I think if Bellinger is unable to go, obviously we hope Bellinger is able to get back on the practice field, able to make it. Neck injuries, you don't mess around with neck injuries.
You don't mess around with that, yeah.
So we'll have to see. The one that is a little more concerning to me would be Jermaine Illuminor. Yeah. He has been, obviously Andrew Thomas has been amazing since he came back from his injury week 3. It's kind of made, it seems like a lot of people overlook Jermaine Illuminor. and how well he's really been playing. He's just completely locked down the right side of the line.
Yeah.
And between him and Thomas, I think this is the best tackle duo the Giants have had in quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
Despite, obviously the positive feelings that surrounded Marcus Bowe earlier in the year, it's obviously a drop-off if Jermaine Illuminor is unable to go, whether it's Bowe or James Hudson filling in. Like, it's a pretty big drop-off.
It's going to be a drop-off when you go from your starter to your backup, because that's the reason that's the starter and that's the backup, right? It is encouraging that Brian Dable did clarify it's not a torn pec, it's a sore pec for Jermaine Illuminor, so that's good. It's not like something that's going to be, significant or require surgery as far as we understand it to be right now. I would say, though, Marcus Bowe, yes, he's a young guy, he's a rookie, he's a backup, but he has really, every time they've asked him to do something, he's stepped up and risen to the occasion. You see him go in there, they're not calling his name, they're not pointing him out on the offensive line, and that, I think, is a sign of good offensive line play, is when you're not noticing them.
Oh, 100%. And I would say he has been a little up and down with his opportunities. That game that he filled in for James Hudson coming in during the game, he played great.
Yeah, and James Hudson, 5 straight penalties individually. I think, that was a hard part for him, and that isn't a testament to his skill set. That was just a rough moment for him.
For sure.
Yeah.
But the game, I believe was that week 1? Was that the season opener?
I want to say week 1. Yeah, week 1.
Yeah. Week 2, Marcus Bowe, I would say, took a little bit of a step back. He wasn't quite as strong as he was coming in reserve in week 1. So it's just been, I guess, it's just a little, again, he hasn't really played much since Andrew Thomas has been back.
And he's a rookie. He's learning still how to play, how to prepare, how to approach each week in and week out. And I think there's a lot of things too that you realize as you spend time around these guys is like, oh, you don't know what you don't know. And you don't know like certain elements of, a game week and preparation until you kind of go through it. And so I think that might also play into a little factor too. Yeah,
I would think if, Marcus Bowe is called to start on Sunday, we would see him take a little bit of a step from earlier in the year. Because as you mentioned, he's just been around the game now for an extra 5 weeks since the last time we really saw him in extended action. So I do think he would take at least somewhat of a jump from, that second half of the week 3 game against the Chiefs on Sunday night. Obviously, similar to what we said about Bellinger, we hope Jermaine is able to just get back on the practice field tomorrow. Mm-hmm. If he gets in a limited session, I would think that he has a pretty good chance. I mean, we've seen Brian Burns miss practice on Wednesday, miss practice Thursday, come back as a limited participant Friday, and then good to go Sunday.
Right.
So if he can get back, Jermaine, tomorrow, I would think that would put him on track to be able to play. If he is unable to get on the practice field tomorrow, again, that would put him on the more pessimistic side, at least for week 9. As you mentioned, Coach Dable did clarify it is not a torn pec. He's not done for the season. It sounds like it could force him to miss at least this weekend's game, potentially.
Well, yeah, and we're guessing and speculating on that too. But I think they do want to be cautious because a sore pec, like anything, if a muscle is fatigued or sore or depleted in a way, it is in a circumstance where it could become a torn pec if you push it too far. And so they want to be careful, and I would agree with you there that they would rather him miss one game to make sure he's good than push him out for one game and he ends up missing, a significant amount because of a worse injury.
Yeah, I mean, all you got to do is look at the other sideline and see what happened with the 49ers and Brock Purdy. They rushed him back a little too soon before he was ready, and it forced him to then miss another month of the season.
Right.
And the Giants don't want to do that with Jermaine Illuminor. Obviously, again, he's just been holding it down on the right side of the offensive line.
Yeah. Giants fans, make sure you go and subscribe to the Giants Huddle podcast. It features long-form interviews with Giants players, coaches, and front office staff, past and present. Plus, hear from the best analysts covering Big Blue and the NFL. Search for Giants Huddle and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, or go to giants.com/podcast. And don't forget, if you are on Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star positive review for all of our Giants podcasts. You know the deal. Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think. 201-939-4513 is the phone number. Let's head to the phone lines. We got Alethea in New Jersey. Alethea, thanks for calling again this week. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Okay, I have a couple questions. A couple things, like 3 or 2 things. First about Cam Scadaboo, and how he's growing the energy, and now we have. I know Tracy, he's a great running back, but Cam Scadaboo wasn't just about the talent; it was about the energy also. I'm just wondering, like, we need, like, some guys to, like, step up with, like, the energy and the hype. Just because even Malik said that one game that we lost when he was still on our team, not injured, he was, like, saying the energy wasn't right, and that's why, like, part of the reason we lost. So I just think we need, like, people to step up in the energy this week.
I like that. I could see that. And you're right. Tyrone Tracy is a talented running back. I mean, how quickly we forget he had 1,000 yards from scrimmage last season, too. He got injured. Cam Scadaboo came in and made the most of his opportunity. Now Scat's injured, and it's Tyrone's chance again to step up. But, you know, I think that energy... There's not a lot of Cam Scadaboos in this world, and it's hard to replace that. You know, it's like there's not a lot of Paul Dotinos in this world, too. We can't just all have that same energy, but I think that the team will do the most and the best that they can to kind of make up for it. We saw yesterday at practice, Jackson Dart was like warming up next to Scat's helmet. I was like, listen, this isn't a fallen soldier. He's all right, but he's just, you know, not out there in the practice field. But you're right, Alicia. This is something like a person who's already, in just a couple of months, made such an impact on this organization.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Jackson, Tyrone, like they've all were asked basically this exact question, and they all basically said the same thing, in that no one is going to be able to replace what Scat brings, like the energy that he brings.
Right.
He is one of one. There's no one else. I mean, that's why, quite frankly, he's become very quickly one of the most popular players in the entire NFL.
Yeah.
You have fans from other teams rooting and cheering for him.
Big Dom being among the first to visit him in the hospital.
Yeah, so in that sense, he's not going to be replaced. It's just, that's irreplaceable. However, Jackson said this when talking to the media yesterday, they are going to need other guys to step up and not bring, you know, the Scat screaming after every play energy, but bring some energy, you know, help raise, I guess, motivate, like help bring the offense as a unit together in the way that Scat did. You know, Tyrone Tracy, that's not who he is as a person. And he said this in the locker room yesterday. He said, I'm not going to try to be Scat. I'm not going to try to be anyone other than Tyrone Tracy Jr. And you don't want him to try to be someone that he's not.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think Jackson is going to, I mean, he's already shown some tremendous leadership skills and abilities already over the last month. He probably is going to need to even step up a little bit more in terms of, you know, the locker room and leadership, and also as a runner. I mean, we've seen him and the Giants a little bit veer away from using him as much as a runner as they did the first couple of games with him as the starter. But now you lost your battering ram goal line back.
Right.
That might need they might need Jackson to sort of pick up a little bit of those carries. I don't know if they want Tyrone Tracy Jr. running the ball 25 times like we saw Scat do.
But also, I don't know that they want Jackson to be the hammer.
Definitely
because that definitely puts the quarterback position in a little bit of jeopardy there as well. So I think proceeding with caution in that way, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a few more design runs or RPOs for him. What was your second question, Alethea?
My second question is about how we were talking about last time about Jalen Hyatt and how he was, like, we're waiting for that game, and how this week he was a healthy scratch. Like, that means, like, you know what that means? Like, he wasn't.
Yeah, he was inactive. Yeah,
wasn't playing. I was wondering what the plan was for this week, and because I hate to see him like on the bench.
Yeah. No, we're big fans of Jalen Hyatt. Thanks so much for the call, Alethea. I think that,
Alethea.
you know, it's one of those things too with Hyatt. Last week when Darius Slayton came back, you know, they've only got so many spots for wide receivers, and considering the fact that, you know, you've got several of those players like Gunnar Olszewski, little Jordan Humphrey that are also contributing on special teams. It was a numbers game, really, and he's a talented player. He's, as you mentioned, you know, he's kind of struggled to crack through, and, you know, he's had some opportunities. He's made some plays, hasn't hit that home run yet in that moment. But he's got so much talent. And like we talked about last week, Alethea, when you called as well, as, you know, my take on him is he is such a skilled receiver when he can break it open and when he can get out into the open field. But when he's got a man on him, he's not yet skilled at creating that separation, at getting that, at coming down with the ball when he's, you know, got a man on in his pocket, essentially. And that is just his knock. And that's something that other opposing defenses have noticed and have played him that way, and have made it more challenging for him to come down with it.
Yeah, I mean, each week, Coach Dable talks about this. They kind of are playing roster gymnastics. It's to get your game day active roster, it's like putting the piece of a puzzle together. So, yes, Jalen Hyatt was inactive, but that could have just been because they thought, they called little Jordan Humphrey up from the practice squad last week. I assume that they just thought little Jordan Humphrey was a better matchup with the Eagles corners than Jalen Hyatt. Little Jordan Humphrey is better at, making those contested catches, as you were just saying, than Jalen Hyatt is. Now, that doesn't mean that Jalen Hyatt is definitely going to be inactive again this week.
Right.
We don't know yet. I think part of it is going to depend on whether or not, some of the guys that the Giants have been relying on special teams, whether or not they're able to play. I mean, we haven't discussed Art Green also got hurt last week.
Yeah.
And has not practiced yet. And he is one of the team's core special teamers. So if he's unable to go, that could require, whoever gets elevated from the practice squad on Sunday might be someone that, the Giants could use on special teams, which Jalen Hyatt just does not. He's not a special teamer. He's not going to line up at gunner. He's not going to help in that facet. So when you're figuring out who to make active on game day on Sundays, you got to consider the depth at all the positions, and that does include special teams.
Right. Yeah, and I think special teams so often gets forgotten about sometimes, especially when fans are thinking about, we need this person at receiver, we need this person at DB, but you also need a returner, you need gunners, you need a lot to go into the special teams unit, and you need depth there as well, and players who are not only familiar with but have practiced that. We've got Ray McLeod potentially getting involved. I know Gabriel was talking about him swimmingly this morning. Swimmingly? Is that the word? Glowingly? Somethingly. Somethingingly. Glowingly we'll go with. And so, but specials. But I know, Alethea, big Jalen Hyatt fan. So are we here at BBK, and hoping for the best for him.
I am excited to see whenever he does get called up or signed to the active roster, what Ray McLeod can add to this offense.
Right.
But to add to the team, both offense and special teams. He's had a pretty strong track record as a returner throughout his, I believe it's like 7 years in the NFL. But just last season, he had by far his best season as a wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons. Now, it didn't pan out this year. I'm not even going to attempt to guess what was going on in Atlanta this year. He hasn't really added much to the offense there this season, but caught over 60 passes last year, over 600 yards. He's not just a returner. He's not just a special teamer. He can add a little juice to this offense. So whether it's this week, next week, a month from now, I am excited to see what, if anything, he can just add.
Yeah, absolutely. Get you somebody who could do it all. Giants fans, with another impactful draft and free agency class in the books, that means it's full steam ahead to the 2025 season. Take your fandom to the next level with a Giants season ticket membership and catch all the action at MetLife Stadium with an exciting home schedule on the horizon. With a membership, you'll also stay connected to the club all year round, not just on game days, with exclusive member access and benefits. To learn more about a New York Giants season ticket membership, visit giants.com/tickets. 201-939-4513 is the phone number. Let's head back to the phone lines. Rob in Yonkers. Rob, welcome to the show. You're on Big Blue Kickoff Live with Madelyn and Matt.
Good afternoon, guys. How are you doing?
Doing well. How are you,
Good.
Rob?
How are you?
I'm doing good. Matt, real quick, I want to run up a bunch of stuff, but I definitely agree with you. A couple of weeks ago, you said something about Jason Sehorn, about the interception. That was the best interception to me, in NFL history. That was
one of my favorite all-time plays.
That's incredible. Yeah.
Well, I wish we had him as our cornerback coach, because our cornerbacks for some reason don't like turning their heads when the receiver is looking the other way. They're looking straight.
Well, I would say Cordell Flott, that's not really an issue. It has not been. I mean, he obviously has had the concussion last week, but he's been having a really strong season, Flott. He's been getting his head around. I mean, that comment, I think, is more directed towards one player, Deonte Banks, who's getting his head around. That has been an issue for him since he got into the NFL.
Even Black, the one that was thrown in the Eagles game,
Corey Black.
And even though he was, but the thing is that he turned around. So even though it was a 50-50 ball, he turned around, and which is good. So I'm literally, the ball got caught on you, but at least you turned around, because again, the other cornerbacks don't like turning around, and sometimes the ball goes like flying right past their helmet. Okay, so a real quick rundown. As far as Abdul Carter, and Brian Burns. I've been watching all these games. I think Brian Burns gets a lot of his sacks because of Abdul Carter. It seems like the quarterback is running from Abdul Carter, and he winds up running into Brian Burns. I'm like, so I think that's where a lot of his sacks are coming from.
Rob, I just want to give you so much credit because there are several Giants, or there are a lot of Giants fans out there who are complaining about Abdul Carter's lack of sack numbers and this and that. But I respect the fact that you can see that sacks come as a cumulative effort, and Burns isn't working alone in that. And sometimes you're getting pressure from one and you're getting sacked from the other.
Yeah, I mean, Abdul does only have half a sack, but he's top 10 in pressures across the NFL.
Yes, he is.
So it's not like he hasn't been getting after the quarterback.
And he is statistically the favorite to win Defensive Rookie of the Year still because of his play on the field.
Yes, and it's the team thing. I said a lot of offensive line, like they were holding him by the neck in the Eagles game, and it's like I feel there should be a lot of more flags when it comes to Abdul Carter, because half of the time you see the defenders holding him by the neck. I'm like, where's the flag? Why isn't there a flag there?
He'll start to get those. He'll start to get some of those calls as he gets a little further in his career. I feel
some
like
of that comes with like rookies not getting respect.
Yeah, I feel like some refs just don't want to make all the calls for a rookie, even though they should. So those calls will come.
Yeah.
And a few more things that I'll take it off air. Why did Slayton change his number from 81 to 18? And Christian McCaffrey, like you guys said, that he hasn't did a lot of yards on the ground. Hopefully he doesn't do it against us. And everyone keeps saying that. I know we have a few more days that way you could pick up another player, the free agents or whatever. Everyone is focusing on wide receivers. I think we should be focused on run stoppers on defense and also offensive linemen, instead of everybody's focused on Odell Beckham and a bunch of wide receivers. We don't need wide receivers. We need more run stoppers. And I'll take it up to air. You guys have a good day.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Rob. So Slayton, first of all, he didn't pick 81. You know, it was kind of one of those numbers that kind of came to, or 86, his previous number. It was that number that kind of was given to him, and he wore it for the first couple of years. And then when he had the opportunity to change it, 18 was something that is a bit more personal for him, has a little bit more family ties. So that is something that he wanted to wear. And this was just the time that he had the opportunity to do it because it was open.
Yeah. And then in terms of Christian McCaffrey, I mean, as we said at the start, you know, Saquon Barkley was struggling mightily this season up until last week. Mm-hmm. So the Giants, and you better believe that the Giants defense knows and are well aware of that, and Christian McCaffrey struggles on the ground this year. They don't want this to be a get-right game for Christian McCaffrey on the ground as well. He's going to catch his passes, obviously, second in the league in receptions. He's going to be a big part of the passing game. You just can't let him gash you on the ground like Saquon and Tank Bigsby did last week. I mean, I think they're going to...
Yeah, you don't want to see a 2nd and 26 convert.
Yeah, I mean, you said the stat on the show with Lance on Tuesday, but the Giants have gotten their opponents to either 1st and long due to a penalty or a 2nd and long, 10-plus yards, 35 times this season, and 25 of those 35 occasions resulted in a first down for the opposing offense. That's a stat that obviously you need to work on. If you force a team into 2nd and long, you can't be allowing them to get first downs at that high of a rate.
I'm going to start calling you Stat Citak. This is like, you got the numbers for all of it.
All the articles I have to write for Giants.com, I come across a lot of different stats.
Stat Citak over here. Numbers never lie. He's got them covered.
So yeah, we cannot.
I don't love that stat, but
no, that's not a very good one.
Yeah.
So they gotta, you know, and we spoke about this last week as well. It's been a big topic of conversation. The Giants have just, on runs to the outside, have been unable to stop opponents.
Yeah.
They have allowed the highest success rate on runs to the outside of any team in the last decade. Mm-hmm. Saquon and Bigsby both had a lot of success running the ball to the outside last week. It's going to start with the edge rushers, who Brian Burns obviously having a good season. Abdul, we just talked about. Kayvon having a good season. As pass rushers, they need to set the edge in the run game. They cannot allow Christian McCaffrey to bounce it outside, especially if you're going to have potentially multiple backups starting in the secondary. You're not going to want those guys in one-on-one situations trying to bring down Christian McCaffrey, because he's very difficult to bring down one-on-one in open field. if the edge rushers can set the edge, push the lineman. I mean, for Brian Burns, it's going to be tough with Trent Williams on the other side of the line, but if you can push him back and not allow McCaffrey to bounce it outside, that's going to let all the guys you have in the box the opportunity to bring him down for a short or no gain whatsoever. So that is going to be a big key on Sunday.
I also think the key too is not just, it's trust. It's execution and trust. I think you got to execute your job and trust your teammate to do theirs. And oftentimes when we watch the Giants defense, give up a big play, you can see one player not in their gap assignment. And why is that? Okay, because he didn't trust that guy was going to be there. Even though that guy was supposed to be. He didn't trust that this was going to get taken care of. So he's kind of looking to make sure it's taken care of before he does what he has to do, instead of just executing your role and trusting the people around you are doing theirs too. And I think some of that comes with, changing pieces and saying, okay, this is a new person at that position. Let me make sure they know what they do. But you know what? Do your job, execute your job well. Because if you're trying to do your job, but also trying to help them do theirs, then you're not fully doing your job and you're leaving room for the offense to kind of break through a big hole.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And just real quick on the final point that Rob brought up in terms of, potential targets to add to the roster. I don't think the Giants need offensive linemen and defensive linemen right now. I mean, those are two areas. Obviously,
you always do, but yeah, fair.
Obviously, Jermaine Illuminor right now is dealing with this pec injury, but overall, the offensive line has been healthy. I mean, Josh Azudu is sitting on IR, designated to return. That's another body that hasn't even been added to the roster that is there if and when the time comes where someone does get hurt up front and they need a little more depth. And the offensive line's been playing well. The offensive, for years we spoke about how the offensive line was really, kind of the Achilles heel of this team. And I know PFF numbers are not everything and not the end all be all, but in this week's offensive line rankings, the Giants were up from PFF. The Giants were up to 15, right in the middle of the pack. And as we said, going into this season, all the Giants offensive line needs to be is middle of the pack. They don't need to be an elite top tier unit in order for this offense to have success. And we've seen it. We've seen Jackson Dart succeed behind this offensive line with Andrew Thomas back, really the whole unit taking a step up. So I don't necessarily know. I mean, you're right in that you can never have enough offensive linemen, but that's just one area where they have not yet, knock on wood, been hit with injuries. So I don't think yet.
Just going to knock on all the wood for that one.
Obviously, that can change very quickly.
Yeah.
But the same kind of goes with the defensive line. I mean, you have in the interior, you have Dex, you have Nacho, you have Roy Robertson Harris, you have Darius Alexander, who's a third-round pick who's shown some flashes, who just, frankly, I think he's playing something like 25% of snaps the last couple of weeks because of all those veterans you have in front of him. So I know the run defense has obviously struggled. I just don't know necessarily if, trading a late-round pick swap for another team's defensive lineman that they don't really want anymore, if that is going to, provide such a boost to the run defense at this point. That could be an area you decide to address in the offseason for sure.
Yeah.
But as in terms of midseason acquisitions,
not a priority right now. Yeah.
There's a reason why, all the rumors and buzz have been around the wide receiver position, because that is a position that the Giants obviously lost Malik Neighbors, have dealt with some injuries to other guys.
And there's also a lot of teams that need wide receivers and a lot of teams that you could see moving off of their wide receivers. So that is a position that I wouldn't be surprised if we saw several of them hiring moving companies next week. So we shall see how it all unfolds. We're getting some YouTube comments as well, starting with Greg Denham. Is McLeod going to be able to suit up and turbo? Ray McLeod, we'd love to see it. We'll see how that goes. It depends on who they decide to activate on game day. Turbo, another player, great running back, Giants fan favorite, speed monster, and with Scadaboo out, I wouldn't be surprised. But I don't know if they go 3.
Yeah, if you'd asked me this at the beginning of the season, given the situation, I would say, for sure Turbo will be, brought up. But when Tyrone Tracy got hurt, he was not brought up those 2 weeks.
Right.
So is there a chance? Yeah, but I don't know for sure. We've seen them,
all that 1 in a million talk, huh?
We've seen them roll with 2 running backs before.
Right.
Especially given all the other injuries throughout the roster. I can't say I'd be shocked if they only go with Tracy and Singletary.
It's going to depend, I think, on how much depth they need at other positions. And
Yeah.
with the Giants, DBs banged up the way that they are, they might need to kind of use those numbers there.
Yeah, because we're looking at potentially being without not only Adebo and Flott, potentially Holland, Art Green, who is your depth corner, but also a key special teamer. That's 4 guys already that are normally on your game day roster.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's going to be more, roster gymnastics come Saturday.
Round off back handspring, back twist, whatever it is, as long as you stick the landing, we're good with it. Joss Soul says, Purdy isn't really that much better than Mac Jones. Most backups are there because of situation, not talent. It's kind of similar to what we were talking about earlier, although Joss Soul put it in a little bit of a harsher term. But yeah, it is. They are both very systematic driven quarterbacks who thrive because they execute the system well. Yeah?
Yeah. And I mean, yes and no. Yes, agree with that completely.
I feel like the term system quarterback has become like a connotation of like an insult. And I don't mean it that way. It's more of like the fact that they are able to do and execute in a way that there isn't, whoever can jump in can do.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that completely. And again, we've seen Kyle Shanahan have success with Nick Mullins at quarterback. Yeah. With who did he have? Joshua Dobbs at one point, I think.
Joshua Dobbs has played for everyone, but yeah, I don't think the Niners.
Regardless, yes, in that sense, I think there are a lot of different quarterbacks, both starters and backups, that could succeed in Kyle Shanahan's system. However, as I said earlier, there is a reason why Brock Purdy just got signed to a extension paying him, I think it's $55 million a year, and why Mac Jones has been a backup the last couple of seasons, signed a 1-year, like $3 million deal. There is a reason for that. So it might not be the same difference between, Lamar Jackson and his backup Cooper Rush in Baltimore.
Sure.
But there is still a pretty somewhat significant difference between the talent level of Brock Purdy and Mac Jones.
There is a difference because they chose Purdy as the starter and Mac as the backup, and they clearly saw something that gave them the trust to do that.
Although I do think the way he's played this season, Mac Jones has a chance next year to be one of those quarterbacks that signs with a team where he's competing to be a starter. It would not surprise me.
Yeah, he could have his Sam Darnold story arc kind of a situation. Richard Armstrong, P-Dot, Stat Citak, we need a nickname for Madelyn. First of all, Richard, I'm glad you like Stat Citak. Let's make it stick like glue because I feel like it's very appropriate. You can't nickname yourself, though. T-Bone? I can't just pull a George Costanza. So these things have to happen organically.
We're going to have to think about that.
Yeah, drop some suggestions in the comments. We'll see how it goes. Maybe over the course of time we'll come up with one.
I always say Mad Dog.
Yeah, Mad Dog is a classic.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what my entire family calls me, weirdly. 2 G's.
Be a good one.
Yeah, D-O-double-G, la-da-da-da-da. Anyways, as obviously as it is, you look at me and the first thing you think is Mad Dog, right? It's kind of why it's great. But yeah, we'll see. We'll keep it evolving. Let us know what you think in the comments. Giants fans, the Giants official connected TV streaming app Giants TV brings original video content and game highlights on demand and direct to Big Blue fans. Giants TV is free on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire TV, and on the Giants mobile app. 201-939-4513 is the phone number. Let's go back to the phone lines. Jamie in Summit. Jamie, you're on Big Blue Kickoff Live with Madelyn and Stat Citak.
Hi, how are you? Just was hearing a couple of things that Jacksonville wishes to get rid of Brian Thomas for some reason. And if, I don't know if I'm Joe Shane, I think I make that phone call for a third rounder. Just saying, he was Neighbors' teammate in LSU. Kid can fly. He does it all. He was actually drafted after Neighbors, I believe, a couple of spots. And I'm also believing that you got to believe this is Kayvon Thibodeau's, swan song today or this weekend because they didn't pick up his 5th-year option. And honestly, he's playing the run better than he ever has. And I don't ever believe that the sack numbers are going to be there. He's just not that type of player. So
I do believe they did pick up his 5th-year option.
Yeah. Jamie, the Giants did pick up Kayvon's 5th-year option.
They didn't pick up Evan Neal's 5th-year option, but they did pick up Kayvon's.
So you're correcting me. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So, yeah, all good. So he is under contract through the end of next season.
Year. Yeah.
Obviously, we had no idea what might happen between today and Tuesday, the NFL trade deadline. Mm-hmm. There was a report from Mike Garafolo, who is one of the most reputable, well-connected NFL insiders in the league. There was a report yesterday, I believe it was yesterday or Tuesday, that said it looks like the Giants will not look to trade Kayvon. Why take away from
I did hear that.
One of your biggest
But also,
strengths was how we put it. So anything could happen if a team comes in and offers some Godfather offer.
Yeah.
With where the Giants are this year, like you have to pick up the phone if someone calls. But
this is draft season and trade deadline season are lying season. We have heard so many things from front offices across the league. We've heard even here, we didn't sign him to trade him, and then things happen. However, I would assume that if they are putting out there like, hey, this is not something that we're focusing on, to Matt's point, I think it's going to be unless an offer comes in that you simply cannot refuse.
Yeah, especially, with it being Mike Garafolo, who used to be a beat reporter in this building. And
I mean,
pretty
he's
well
not
connected. Yeah, he's not going to put that out.
He's not got bad information, but what I'm saying is he could be right now, and then next week something could change, or
for sure.
It could be completely true. But I think at this point, things are so in flux. I would not expect, though, long story long, I would not expect Kayvon Thibodeau to be on a different team in this time next month.
I would be surprised if at this time next week he's not a member of the Giants.
I would be shocked.
But anything can happen. And in terms of your first point with Brian Thomas Jr., if that's all it would cost in a trade,
a third rounder for BT, let's go.
I have a feeling, he has obviously struggled this year, but he's coming off a pretty phenomenal rookie season just last season. I would find it very hard to believe that Jacksonville would be willing to give him up for that little, just even with his struggles this season.
Yeah,
I would be shocked if that's all. If that's all it would take. If that's all it would take, I think there are at least 2/3 of the NFL that would, in a heartbeat, make that deal.
Yes, yeah. I mean, and they're 4-3, second in the AFC South right now. I don't think that they're looking to blow it all up for a draft pick.
Yeah, and I think they drafted Travis Hunter with the thought of pairing him on offense with Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah,
a team that they believe is up and coming.
I can't even believe that I've even heard they want to get rid of him. I mean,
I was surprised when I saw those reports too. I was very surprised.
Yeah,
coming off the year he had last year.
Yeah,
doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, Jamie, thanks so much for the call today.
Yep.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you. Have a good one. 201-939-4513. Let's go back to the phone lines. Dean in Minnesota. Dean, thanks for calling in on Big Blue Kickoff Live. How's it going?
Hi, Madelyn. Hi, Matt.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. I have a few questions if time allows me to.
Yeah.
The first one, I know you referred, Madelyn, you referred earlier to Matt as Stats Matt. So speaking of that, Matt, question for you is, do we have statistics that shows this year and last season, who's the team who has the highest number of injuries?
I don't have that on me right now. That is something.
Yeah, they exist somewhere, but I think it'll take some time to curate that.
That would take a little bit of time to find, and we only have 5 minutes. But
because understandably that has a lot to do with how they end up performing in a given season.
Yeah. I don't think the Giants. I don't think the Giants would be that high up the list this year, though.
Yeah, last year maybe. This year,
I mean, of course,
but I think if you consider its number of injuries versus impact of injuries.
That's what I was
like. The fact that Malik Neighbors and Cam Scadaboo, like those would have such higher point value essentially if we're grading on that than
100%.
Some other players.
Took the words out of my mouth.
So yeah.
It would be interesting if these stats are available, so I can have them handy. The other point I want to emphasize is I want to highly emphasize the importance of having a motivating coach. That makes a big difference. A good motivating coach can bring the best out of his players. And to be honest with you, at the end of last season, I was hoping that we can get the Sanders package. I think Deion Sanders is a very good motivator. I expect him to be in the NFL next year, probably with the Jacksonville or with Cleveland. And he will be bringing the best out of his players. But to me, that's a very important issue that probably we're not benefiting from at this point.
I would disagree. I think Brian Daboll is a very motivating coach. I think the players really respect and enjoy playing for him. And, one thing is not like the other. Doesn't mean Deion Sanders is not also a good coach. I think that there's, many.
Mark my word, I think he will be in the NFL next year, and I think he will do very good with whatever team he will end up coaching.
All right.
That's what I expect. It's no prediction. And also, I expect a lot from Fedoni, and I am surprised that he has not had any offensive snaps so far. I do expect him to have big plays this coming game against the Niners.
Awesome.
I really do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we agree with you, Dean, there, and thank you so much for the call on BBK today, because I think we, like we talked about earlier on the show, Fedoni is a guy who might have an opportunity, on offense, and it's not that he hasn't had offensive snaps for skill or ability; it's more just depth.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest reason why we have not seen Fedoni play at all on offense is just because of how well Daniel Bellinger has been playing.
Right.
He's really, had, I think, in my opinion, his best season in the NFL so far.
Yeah.
But again, if he's
and Bellinger's overcome a lot. I mean, he broke his eye. How did that even happen? Like, it was
gotten off to such a good start his rookie year, and then he had that injury, and that clearly derailed him for the rest of his rookie year.
Yeah.
Seemed like it even affected him in year 2. Then, Theo Johnson was brought in last year. For whatever reasons, he is enjoying his best season so far, so hopefully he's able to make it back on the field this weekend. And then just in terms of the second point Dean made, the one thing you can't say about Brian Daboll is that the players don't want to still play for him. Even in the last couple of seasons where things have obviously gone off the rails in terms of the record of the team and just the direction of the team.
Right.
The whole entire locker room still stands up and fights for Brian Daboll, and are very vocal about how much they still believe in him and support him. So you can say what you want about him. That is not something you can say that he doesn't motivate his players to want to play.
Yeah,
because that is one of the things I think he is best at.
Right, I agree, and I think he's somebody that is beloved in this building, in this organization, in that locker room especially. And that's not to say that other coaches around the league or around the sport aren't. But I think that while Dean was trying to make the point of a coach that he prefers, potato tomato doesn't mean that the Giants don't already have a coach who's doing just that and motivating the team.
Yeah, Deion Sanders might end up being a great coach in the NFL.
Yeah,
he was a good coach in college, so it wouldn't surprise me at all. But one thing he did say, Dean, was he wanted this Sanders package.
Right.
That would mean that Jackson Dart is not here right now, and I think we're all pretty happy that Jackson Dart is the quarterback of the Giants.
Yeah, the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Month. Yeah. And no disrespect to Shedeur Sanders, but he hasn't yet made his way into a starting role yet with Cleveland, and so he's still working through some things there. And he could also turn out to be such an incredible player, too, in his time. But I think the Giants are in a good position with where they are. All right, we got to wrap it up because some of us have places to be here. And some of us have commutes to make, Citak, in this rain out here today. So thank you guys for listening to a Thursday. Now, I'm like, what day is it? We're all thrown off. We're musical chairs this week on BBK, but thanks for tuning in to a Thursday edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, brought to you by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Giants. We've been coming to you from the Giants podcast studio, presented by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. For Matt Citak, for Stat Citak, I'm Mad Dog. That's been a wrap for Big Blue Kickoff Live, a part of the Giants podcast platforms everywhere, and giants.com/podcasts. We'll see you next time.